Yo, welcome again. You know we always express ourselves through our designs, and Father's Day is just around the corner. So, as a creative designers, we need to create something small to appreciate them. Before we start this tutorial, check through the description. You will see a link. That link will help you to download all the resources that I'm going to use for this particular tutorial. Without wasting my time, let's start. So, as we always do, you start by creating a new working space using the Create New button. I always prefer A3 because it gives me a lot of pixels. I'll then crop the size using the crop tool. Then I'll head over here to change it to 4:5 ratio. Then I'll press my enter key. So now this is the working space. Let's start by creating our background. I'll head over to my desktop. I have the resource that I'm going to use for this particular tutorial. So this is the image that I'm going to use. I'll start by importing this image as the background. I'll scale it up to fill the canvas. I think that is okay. Then I'll create a gradient, a dark gradient to fill up this space. I want to create a contrast because contrast helps to create a hierarchy in a design. But before that, let me do some small arrangement in my Photoshop. I want to put the layer here for a convenience. So I'll start by creating that gradient by heading to this shaded circle, then select gradient, the first one. Then I'll click inside this box, then make sure to change these colors to black. I want the black to go up a bit, so I'll stretch it up like this. Then I'll press OK. Now let me import one of the images that I'm going to use. I'm going to utilize this PNG image. I want only the one on the right side, so I have to crop it from the other one using this tool, the rectangular mark tool. You can use shortcut M. Then I'll draw it over the image that I want. Then I'll right click on the layer, that image, then rasterize it. Using the Ctrl J, it will duplicate that image alone. Then I'll delete the first one that I imported, leaving this one alone. Then I'll duplicate it. Then mute one. Then I'll make sure to scale this one up. I think it's okay. Then I will drag it under the gradient for that I created. Then I'll change the color of this image to black and white using the camera raw. So you can do that by selecting the filter, camera raw filter. Then I'll click on this arrow behind the basic. Then I'll make sure to push this slide to the left side, the vibrance and the saturation. Then I want the image to pop a bit, so I'll increase my white, then decrease the highlight, then increase the contrast a bit, then increase the texture, then clarity a bit. Then let me work a bit on the shadows. Okay, I think it's okay. Then I'll press OK. That is it. So now let me import another PNG file. These flares. Let me rasterize it first by clicking on the layer, then select rasterize layer. Then I want this first one, so we will use the same procedure that we used to crop the image using the Mach tool. This second one, the shortcut as M. Then I'll draw over the one that I want. Then I'll press Ctrl J to duplicate this one alone. Then I'll delete the first one that I imported by selecting and pressing the delete key. Then I'll scale it up to cover the image because I want that image to be in the background. Then change the blending mode. Something like this. Then I'll mute it. Then head over to this shaded circle again. Then select solid color. Then change the color to something like orange. Then I'll change the blending mode to something like screen. Then I'll select this shaded box here, the max. It is called max. I'll select it, then press Ctrl I, which means inverse. Then using the brush tool, I'll make sure that the one on top, this shaded box, the white one should be on top. You can do that by pressing this arrow here. It will bring the white one on top like this. Then I'll increase the size of the brush, then decrease the hardness. I am using a shortcut. Look below the screen, you will see the key that I'm pressing. Then I'll press it once like this. Then using my move tool, I'll scale it up a bit. Enter. Then I'll make sure that one will come below the flare that we first created. Then I will now turn on the flare. Let's work on the blending mode a bit. Okay, so now it's like the image is looking too whitish, so let's fix that by using the brightness and contrast option. Heading over to the shaded circle, then I'll select contrast and brightness. Then I'll decrease the brightness and increase the contrast. But I want that one to affect only the image, so I have to use my Alt key, then press in between the picture and the brightness layer for it to affect only the image. So now we are almost done with the background, left with one image. So let's head over to the folder, then select this image, this particular image, then you drag and drop. So let me scale it up a bit, then position it just here. Then change the blending mode to something like screen. Let me see. No, So the blending mode is something like, it's a choice. You choose the one that work best for you. Okay, something like, yeah, this one is okay. Lightning is okay. So I'll place it here. So we can group all by selecting the first one, then using the shift key, press on it, then press on the last image, then Ctrl G. It will group it. So you can double click, then say background. Now let's import our image again, that same image, this one. We are done with the background, so we are now coming to create the work itself. So you want the one on the right hand, so using the mark tool, you will draw over the one that you want, then Ctrl J. It will duplicate it, then I'll delete the first one that I imported. Now let me place it here. I want the dark, this gradient that we created to go up a bit. So I want to do that by creating a mask for the image, the one that we scale it up. I'll select that image, then click on mask, then select my brush tool. Then I'll make sure to change this one to dark because I want to clean. So I have to change it to dark. The black one has to come top. Then I'll paint over the image. The part that I don't want it to appear, I'll paint over it. Then let's make the background a bit blur, sake of it is confusing with the images on it. So let's make it a bit blur using the filter blur, then Gaussian blur. Let's increase it a bit, then okay. I think the gradient should go up a bit, so double click, then you drag it up a bit like this. It's okay. Then you press OK. Now let's make some adjustments in the image by selecting it, then using the camera raw filter, then camera raw to make some small adjustments. So let me try the auto option. Okay, then I'll increase the whiteness a bit, then the highlight a bit. I think that's okay. Let me position it. So now I'll type Father's Day. So I'll using the text tool. I'll click on the text tool, then come to my workspace, then I'll click once. Father's Day, so I will separate them. Fathers will be different and then the day too will be different. So I will start by typing the father. Then I'll highlight everything using Ctrl A, then change the font. I'll use Aero Jones NF. I'll use this font. Select my move tool, then I'll drag it. I want it to be somewhere here, so I'll change the color to white, not bright white, something like grayish, something like that. So I can do that by selecting the text, then head over to FS, select color overlay, then I'll change it to something like gray white, something like that. Something like this is okay. Then I'll press OK. Then I'll type the day. The same procedure, selecting the T, the text tool, click, then I'll type day. By this one, only the first letter will be big, capital. Then I'll select everything using the Ctrl A, then I'll use the autograph font. Then I'll change the color to dark grayish white. Then I'll position it here. So now let me create something small and place my name inside using this PNG image. I want to get rid of the black, so I can use that. I can do that by using the magic eraser. Because it is a full color, I can use the magic eraser. I'll click, it will show this one, just press OK. Then click on the darker side. You see there is a black outline on the image on this PNG. I want to get rid of that by using color overlay. You see it is gone, but I want that one to be two colors, so let me use gradient. I'll use gradient. Then I'll use dark red for one side, then light red for one side. Then I'll make sure to do something like glow around this circle using the inner glow like this. Then I'll press OK. Then I'll place it just behind this one, then reduce the size a bit, so if I don't want it to catch attention. Then I'll type inside NextGod Creations. Using the text tool, clicking on my canvas, then I'll type NextGod, all in caps. You can put your name there. Then I'll select everything using the Ctrl A. Then I'll change the font to MTN. You can search the name of your font if you know. Then I'll reduce it, the size. I'll reduce the size. Then I'll drag it on top of this circle here. Then I'll change the color to something grayish white like this one. So you can select this shaded box, then you come and click on top of the color that you want to pick. It automatically selects it from here for you, then you press OK. Then I'll carefully position it inside the circle using the middle alignment. And now let me add something small, a celebration, so let me add something small like this one, shows celebration. So I'll increase the size like this. I'm not going to use everything, I'll get rid of some. Then enter. So now let me use the mask, this one, the square or box with some circle inside, mask. I'll click on it. Then I'll make sure to click on this box here. Using my brush tool, I'll make sure this shaded dark is on top of the white one. I already told you that the dark one means cleaning, getting rid of something. So that one should be on top. Then I'll select my brush tool. Then I'll reduce the size a bit. Then I'll clean the part that I don't want. Let me increase the hardness of the eraser a bit to make it easier for me. Now I think I'll have to reduce the size a bit. Let me use the white. Then white means appear. I think this one is okay. Then I'll add one more thing, which is a texture. All the resources are in the description. Just click on it. It will take you to my Google Drive, then you download this for practice. Then you have to change the blending mode for the texture. So I told you can try the one that works best for you. Then I'll reduce the opacity. Let me bring it down a bit below the main image. Then reduce the opacity a bit. But then I don't want these lines to pass through the image in the background, so using the same masking technique, I can clean it. So this is the texture, so I have to create the mask for that texture. Then I will clean the part that I don't want. Then I'll clean those parts like this. Like this. So guys, this is a short video for you. Thank you, but don't forget to subscribe and share, comment, and stay tuned for more updates.